One of the most addicting types of games that I've ever played is the Match 3. You can play them on mobile. They're very popular. You just match 3 things, like Bejeweled or any of those type of games.
I do not enjoy Match 3s. If you're talking about stuff like Candy Crush, I have spent maybe 4 or 5 hours in my life playing that game, and I don't really play any other Match 3s that I can think of, so I'm not a huge fan.
I've always found them very interesting. I'm not like the guy who's going to pay a lot of money to play them, but I do enjoy them. I have Candy Crush on my phone. It's one of the few apps, one of the few games that I have on my phone, and I will play it when I'm bored somewhere and I remember that I have it installed because it's kind of perfect for that for me. This is Battle Chef Brigade, which is a Match 3 meets an RPG meets side-scrolling combat. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be, because I've never heard of an interesting combination like that before. I'm confused to an extent about what role does the Match 3 play in the game? Like, is the large majority of the gameplay Match 3, or is it pretty well balanced?
No, it's okay, so I will go through, because I feel like it doesn't make sense unless you see it and you hear it, because I found this due to a streamer who was playing it, and I'd never really paid any attention to it. I looked at it on Steam, and I was like, that game looks terrible. And so then I just discounted it until I saw somebody playing it. And I think that that's going to be the same for a lot of people, because this is a game that doesn't make a whole lot of sense when somebody tells you about it. The core part of this game is you are a chef, and you're trying to join a brigade of chefs, and they have battles between each other. Think Kitchen Nightmare type stuff, any of those cooking shows where people match off and then their food is judged, and they go to the next stage and all that. It's that, also fighting monsters. The core gameplay loop is very, very simple. You will start off with a challenge, whether it be, today you're going to be impressing this judge. The judge really wants you to make something out of this special, unique ingredient. The ingredient is a dragon. So now you're going to go kill a dragon, gather up its meat, then use the pieces of that dragon to make an awesome meal with various other ingredients that you've gotten out there while hunting the dragon.
That's one of the most unique things I've ever heard. This sounds like an anime to me in a lot of ways.
It's so weird. It's very weird, and I love every second of it. The cooking itself is the Match 3 part, because once you go in and you actually start cooking, you're going to have all the ingredients that you've gone out and you've found, and you're going to put them together, and every time you match 3, or sometimes 4, or sometimes 2, but we won't get too specific there, it's just that there's a lot of different options there. Once you've matched these things together, they will get stronger, and the more strong things you have in your meal, the better tasting it is. And chefs might want, I want fire, says one guy, and another judge might want fire and water, and another one might want earth and water, and another one might want whatever. So you have up to 3 chefs that you have to cook these meals for, while competing against someone else who is also making meals for the same chefs.
The person you are competing against, is that an AI, or is this online multiplayer? Do they have that?
It is an AI. The only fighting you'll do against a real person is there are daily quests that you can do, and there's a leaderboard for them. The scores on those leaderboards are absolutely insane, and I'm fairly certain that they're all lying cheaters, because there's no way that they're getting these kinds of scores. It just doesn't happen. I don't understand how it could happen. But that's neither here nor there. The game is incredibly fun because it is absolutely ridiculously simple. You just cook some stuff.
Well, on the subject of it being simple, I'm curious, I think you mentioned RPG earlier as being one of the 3 mixtures that this game kind of brings in. So if it's simple and you collect ingredients and you do fights and you make the dish, carry it to the judge, do you get better over time? Because that is so important in games for me, to be able to feel like I'm getting better, I'm unlocking stuff, I'm getting upgrades, I'm being able to cook better meals than I could a couple of hours ago. Does it incorporate that, like a reason to keep playing?
Besides the fact that there is a story, and it's a very simple story, but I like it, and it's a good story, and I enjoyed playing through the story. Besides that fact, there is also some RPG elements. Those RPG elements are additionally fairly simple. You're going to have various cooking upgrades that you get throughout the game that you can kind of decide what you want to do with. So you might get a new oven or a new pan, or you might be able to decide whether or not you want to have a cutting board versus something else. There's a lot of different things that you can think about like that.
Yeah, that's precisely what I meant. Like, I love that part of cooking games. Like, even the Flash games, like the Papa Louie games, where you get new ingredients and new ovens, new fryers, things that can help you be faster or make better food. I love when they incorporate that sort of stuff into other cooking games, so I'm glad that you say that. When I asked if it was RPG, I of course didn't mean does his strength and dexterity go up. What I meant was, like, can you improve? So I'm really glad that you say that you can.
You can improve, you can get new ovens. There's also an element of strategy here, because you have to decide what you're going to take at what time, and sometimes you make the wrong decisions, and you have to kind of deal with that. There are a lot of different elements that go into making a high-quality dish, and you have to go in with a plan. Before you do anything, you're going into this game, you're saying, here's what I'm going to do in the next match. I'm going to go in there, okay, I've got a guy who needs fire, I have another one who needs fire and water, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go collect a lot of fire stuff, I'm going to put half of it into an oven that's going to slowly upgrade all of the ingredients, then the other half I'm going to stick in over here so that I can keep that for my second dish with the other guy, and then I'm going to take the upgraded ingredients, and now I'm going to go work with those while I'm taking my second plate, putting it into the oven to upgrade everything, and now that stuff's all working. Okay, I got the first dish gone. I'm going to serve the first dish. I'm back out. I'm hunting more dragons, or I'm hunting more bear, boar things, or whatever, and now I'm going to go ahead and start working on that second dish. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that part of the game.
That also excites me a great deal, because once again, all of the cooking games that I played before, you have to take the order, then you need to be cooking something, and while that's cooking, you also need to be cooking the sides, and while that's cooking, you need to be filling up the drinks for the customer, and then you have to go back and take the next customer's order, all the while the food's been cooking the entire time, and your mind is constantly thinking about what to do next. And that is what makes these sorts of games super duper immersive, and it's what makes you get into them, because your brain is really living inside of that moment, trying to keep everything organized.
That is exactly what this is. I adored my time playing this game. I think that for anybody who watches these videos or who knows me, especially you, Brax, I don't go back to games very often. It's not something that I do. I play a game, I'll play it for a few hours. I might even get really invested in a game and play it for a lot of hours. Once I've played it, I probably am not going to go back to it again.
Yeah, like you said the other day, you were very, very into Wolfenstein, the new one when it came out, and you put a lot of hours into it, but now you feel like, I'm over it, right? I'm past that, so, you know, not to say you'll never play it again, but you're also past that point in your life right now.
That's the thing. Once I've beaten the title, I'm definitely not going to go back. I've never been a 100%er. That's not how I play. On top of that, I'm just not the type of person who, if a game doesn't catch me and keep me coming back the next time, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to come back. That's just who I am. When you have a title and you say, oh, here it is, and I play it, and I have a good time with it, I have to continue to want to come back 2 weeks later. And that's very, very, very rare.
Does this game make you want to come back?
Yes, it does. I have come back to it repeatedly. I have completed the title now over several days of coming back to it, saying, oh, you know, this seems like I would like to play that game again. And that happened over and over again until eventually I finally had beaten the game. And I enjoyed it quite a lot because, I don't know, there's something about that excellence of playing, you know, that a lot of titles just never seem to quite get.
Excellence of playing? Not sure exactly what you mean.
Playing the game was so good that when I was playing it, I kept wanting to play it again.
Right, and it sounds simple in theory, right? That's the sign of a good game. While you're playing it, you want to play it again. But even though it's simple in theory, there aren't that many games that actually do that. A lot of them miss something. It could be a really good game, but it doesn't have that I want to play it again factor. There are a number of reasons and a number of things that can hold games back because of that. And that's like the subliminal thing that a game has to do for the player in order to make it memorable, legendary or any other great word you want to describe a game that can do that.
You brought up Wolfenstein. I think Wolfenstein is a wonderful game. It's a lot of fun. I played through the entire game in essentially 2 sittings. I started playing it the night it came out. I came back the next day after sleeping, and I completed the title. I'm not sure that if I had played that an hour at a time, I would have come back to it. I feel like eventually I would have lost some of that fire. With this title, I never lost that fire over several days. Now, I did fatigue a little bit simply because some of the missions that you have to go through can put you up against a judge and then another judge and then another judge back to back. And I had a couple of moments where I wasn't really prepared to spend that kind of time. I had completed a mission and the mission was over and there was no break in between, so here you go, here's another mission right away. That kind of wore me down a little bit because I had become accustomed to playing this title in short little hour-long moments.
Right, but I'm assuming that the scenario that you're speaking of about the back-to-back missions happens towards the end of the game, if I'm to guess, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so that's sort of to be expected, because at least by then you're hooked into it enough that you're at the end of the game, and by that point your thought process is, okay, I'm going to beat this. I've made it this far, I'm going to finish it. So even that probably didn't hold you back from returning to it.
No, in fact, I ended up quitting out of that same mission after beating one judge twice and came back and actually completed it. You're going to get through this whole game in about 10 hours if you don't lose too often and you don't have to restart too often. You're not able to lose. If you lose, you have to start over again. It's definitely not open-ended. You are going to have to complete your mission, and you're going to have to win it. You have a couple of different little puzzle things that you can go through, which will give you money that allows you to buy extra stuff at the shop. There's up to 3 little puzzles in between every cook-off. So if you go do all 3 of those, you'll typically have enough money to go buy some new gadget, whether it be, again, an oven or a pan or a cutting board or whatever, and then you can go and do it. But all of it really kind of revolves around that match 3 of the cooking and around the monster hunting itself. And once you've got those 2 things down, you're going to do well at basically everything in the game. There's not a whole lot there other than this, so if you're looking at this going, oh man, that looks incredibly boring, you're not you're not going to have a great time. For me, the match 3 part of it, plus the go out and kill monsters part of it, it piqued the interest of the tactician inside of me.
That makes sense. You're a thinker, so games that make you think are enjoyable, sure.
That's what drew me to this, and that's why I decided to do it. All the rest of it is kind of an aside for me. Yes, the voice acting is pretty good, and yes, the story is reasonably interesting, though highly cliche. Yes, the characters are okay, but again, they're highly cliche. It's all okay, but it was really the core gameplay loop of go kill the dragon, get the pieces of the dragon, cook the dragon, and become the top dragon chef.
Well, the gameplay is at the core of any game. That's what you're going to spend the majority of your time doing, so that's a good thing. Your appraisal of this has made me curious. What is the price tag on this game?
This is a $19.99 game, so it's $20.
That doesn't seem bad. That actually does not seem like a bad deal.
It's not a bad deal when you consider that you're getting 10, 15 hours, especially if you start doing the daily stuff and you really get into that. This is definitely a title that could take up several dozens of hours if you really got into it. But for most people who decide to complete the entire thing, you're looking at about 10 hours. And that's $2 an hour. And that's like well within my willingness to pay. So I'm pretty okay with it. $20. When I first saw it, I said, $20. I don't know, man. That's $20 for a game. I looked at it and I said, it's all anime. I don't like that at all.
My first impression as well.
So, like, there was a lot there that made me not like it. But once, again, I saw somebody stream it and I saw them play it and I realized that the gameplay itself is actually this match 3 and it's this tactical monster hunting where you're building your own match 3. I realized that that speaks to me on a different level, and I really was excited to try it out. So for $20, I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's one of the titles that I have purchased myself. It was not sent to us by a developer, so I feel like that is enough recommendation.
Absolutely. You've definitely intrigued me with your high praise, and for $20, I think I might have to check this one out. It seems like a good deal.
So there you go, guys. That is Battle Chef Brigade. If you like it, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. But if you did like it, why don't you check out another one up there in the corner? And as always,
We'll see you guys on the next one.